Thank you for checking out this short. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Peace.
Yeah, let's talk about hold your vote. There are people talking about right now, I'm going to hold my vote because they're not happy with the candidate selection. So, first of all, what's your opinion on hold your vote?
Please let me go.
And I'll follow him.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
My opinion with that is exactly what happened in 2016. A vote held is a vote for Trump to me. Trump, the reason he's trying to slow down the mail and the mail-in votes and all that, because he knows the fewer people vote, the better chance he got to win. The more people vote, it's definitely going to be on in Biden's place. Now, you got to think about this, holding your vote. What does it really mean? If you hold your vote, it just does not affect the presidential election. It affects, do you know that Donald Trump has appointed more judges to the bench than any other president in the history of the United States?
Mm-hmm.
Not just talking about the Supreme Court. I'm talking about districts.
Mm-hmm.
What he's doing is putting like-thinking people like himself who we perceive to be a problem. So if you get in trouble or your people get in trouble and they go before this judge who thinks like that, you are affected. Whether you realize it or not, you are affected.
Mm-hmm.
And you holding your vote affects long-term generations of people. And you got to start thinking about that. You just can't think it's just about this election and who's the better or who's the worst. But you hold your vote, it affects long-term, man. It's not just, and if he continues, he gets 4 more years, what is the judicial system going to look like in the United States? He's making a mockery of it right now.
Mm.
I'm out.
Hold on. So Donald, I think you want to go next, but I wanted to comment on that. You're right. If you don't vote now, what is the world going to look like in 4 years? You might not even be able to vote, period. Go ahead, Donald. What was you going to say?
Okay, so I've had this debate in my family. I've had this debate on Facebook. I've had this debate with individuals who did not like Hillary Clinton. Now they don't like Joe Biden. They were Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein. So we've had this conversation, right? And the conversation that I've had, I've tried to convince them that there's really a binary choice, right? There's really we have multiple parties, but in America there's a binary choice. You have a Republican and Democrat. No third party is going to win. But holding your vote or abstaining from voting is essentially a vote for Donald Trump. And their logic is, well, who are you to tell me what I should do with my vote? And my issue is not like, I'm not saying that my opinion is the right opinion, but there's binary choices. And you got to be careful because the argument is like, oh, well, I got to choose lesser of the two evils. And this is the issue they say, right? In my mind, evil is evil. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, evil is evil. The lesser of two evils. No, what you try to do is understand what does that person's platform, does that person's platform represent who you are as an individual? Is it closer? So you abstaining because you want free college, because you want the Green New Deal, but you can't have all those things, but you're pro-choice. You might even be anti-gun.
So the argument,
interesting.
I'm sorry. So the argument is that, yeah, we if we don't vote right now, we're going to force this issue at hand in another 4 years, right?
And it never pans out.
No, we're not.
Yeah, it never pans out, and that's the discussion. So one of my friends, close family members, I asked him point blank, "Are you voting this year? Because you already saw what happens." You know what he said? He said, "No, I'm not voting because you all, including me, y'all deserve a president like Donald Trump."
Wow.
They're right.
That's what he said. And he wasn't even, and this is a 55-year-old individual who has Obamacare, who benefits from the Democratic Party. He said, it's your fault. You got Trump.
So, Doc, what do you think about this, bro? Hold your vote. What does it mean?
Well, on that vibe, I'm looking at it as if you hold the vote, then you're not doing anything for anybody. I mean, you're just being negative instead of being positive. I think you should go out there and vote, but then you have to also look at the two characters that's involved in the situation and who has a better vote for each person. So, I mean, as far as looking at what Donald Trump is doing, I mean, I'm darn sure not going to vote for him. And what Biden has done, and you hear some things about what he has done in the past. So it's like, you're weighing yourself, saying like, well, that happened then, but what's happening now with Donald Trump? So I think I'm gonna go a little bit closer to Biden than I definitely wouldn't go with Trump.
There it is.
Also,
I'm going to give you my answer based on some historical content, if you guys bear with me for a second, and I'll give you my answer. But it says, and this is about the Voting Rights Bill of 1965, that people might not be familiar with, okay? After the Civil War, the 15th Amendment, ratified in 1870, prohibited states from denying male citizens the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Nevertheless, in ensuing decades, various discriminatory practices were used to prevent African Americans, particularly those in the South, from exercising their vote. Now, to close with this, there was also literally tests given out. Black people attempting to vote often were told by election officials that they had gotten the date, time, or polling place wrong, that they had possessed insufficient literacy skills, or that they had filled out the application incorrectly. Black people whose population suffered a high rate of literacy due to centuries of oppression and poverty often would be forced to take literacy tests when they sometimes fail. Also, to close, if people aren't familiar with the late Senator John Lewis, the march from Selma to Montgomery, that was what they were marching for. That day was known as Black Sunday. And they were marching for voting rights. So with all of that said and tied up, for me, it's my duty to vote, okay? And I'm going to piggyback off of what the preacher said, because you have to find something in there, a platform that helps you, but not to vote. To me, my parents aren't here anymore, my great-grandparents, my ancestors that were involved in stuff like that, who had to turn on the TV and watch Selma and watch people getting beaten over the head with billy clubs. And now we have the luxury. We have luxuries that those people died for, okay, as well as the late Senator John Lewis. So it is our duty for our souls, okay, to vote. I mean, that whole to vote, to me, that don't get it, because to me, that's like kicking dirt. That's kicking dirt in people's face, our ancestors that died for us, that marched for us, that walked for us, that gives us the privileges and the rights to do it. So for me, I'm definitely voting.
word. Crooner.
Voting. Just what he just said, man. Everything he said. My parents, it was a duty you had to do, because so many people in our life didn't have the chance to vote and was turned around from voting. So you had to vote. In my father's house, you had to vote. Seriously, that's just that simple.
So for you, hold your vote is what?
It's just silly. It don't make no sense, man. All it's gonna do is just hurt us as a people. But people got their own agendas, man. You know.
Yeah. Baller, we were asking the question, how do you feel about the terminology hold your vote?
I think if you quote unquote hold your vote, not vote, I'm looking the other way, I'm not doing nothing on November 3rd, that's a disservice to our fathers and mothers that took those beatings for us to get where we are today. A disservice, you know, because I've had friends say that exact same thing to me, you know, and some of them couldn't give me a clear reason as to why. Right. Well, the reason I would get was both of those guys are not worth voting for. I get you. But a vote not made is a vote for that Republican Party. I'm just calling a spade, being 100 with you. You know, and a lot of people say, you know, well, what's Biden going to do? To me, Biden was part of an intricate part of history with our first Black president. Now he's going to be, in my opinion, a president with the first Black vice president. So, you know, the Black women in our household always in your ear, you gonna do this and I told you what to do this. So to me, Kamala's gonna be like, listen, Biden, we ain't doing that.